Welcome to Talk is Baseball. My special guest today is Danny Vietti. Um, so, are you a writer for CBS or do you are a producer?
So I'm senior social producer, and I also write part-time for CBS.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I didn't want to, say you were something and then that wasn't what your
No
proper
worries.
title. So Danny, you're from Cottonwood, California, which many people might not know. It's a very small town. Can you tell us a little bit about growing up there, and do you have a favorite team growing up?
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say, but let's just say I got more followers on social media than I do. There are people in the town of Cottonwood, California, but it's just a very small town. I think there's about 3,000 people in the entire city, just outside of Redding, California, the true Northern California. Grew up and went to West Valley High School, and so I was a Northern California kid, born and raised. Grew up a San Francisco Giants fan, big time Sacramento Kings fan, and remain loyal to the Las Vegas Raiders despite them moving away to Las Vegas.
And you mentioned you went to North Valley High School. The reason I mention it is because you used to pitch, if I'm not, wrong. You used to pitch in high school, or was it college?
I pitched in both, yeah. So West Valley High School, and then I pitched. I went to San Diego State and University of San Francisco, and then finished up at William Jessup.
And you were also a batter?
In high school, I was a two-way player. In college, I was a pitcher only.
Is there any reason why you stayed a pitcher, and did you not like batting?
No, I love batting. I think it was more so the bat was taken out of my hands more than me taking the bat out of my own hands. It was, I think I was just a better pitcher overall, and with the higher up you go in this game, the more specialized it gets. So I'd like to think that if I pursued a career in hitting, maybe I would have had maybe as much success, but maybe that's more wishful thinking. But so yeah, I mean, I found the role on the mound, and that suited me well for at the time.
And as you mentioned, you went to San Diego University. That's where you got your internship with Upper Deck. Can you tell us a little bit more about how was it working with Upper Deck?
Yeah, so went to San Diego State my freshman year. Had a great experience, go Aztecs. And my second semester there, Upper Deck kind of caught my eye. I don't remember where I found the internship. I'm not sure what website it was I found it on, but they're located up in Carlsbad, California, which is probably about a 20, 30-minute drive, depending on traffic, from the San Diego State campus. And so it was a part-time deal, but it gave me a really good experience. I got to do card signings with different athletes. Upper Deck originally kind of became very notable for trading cards within the baseball business, but they have since transitioned into hockey, exclusively hockey. And they also do college athletes as well, but they no longer do Major League Baseball, NBA, or NFL. And so I kind of got acclimated to that environment, got to communicate with different hockey agents to kind of try and get their athletes to do different signings. Internship they're not all too glorious. So the day-to-day work wasn't the best in the world, but it was a really good experience, and I had some good leadership in front of me as well.
I think that's awesome. I think it's an amazing thing that you have experience from a view from both sides as a player and now being a writer for baseball. From a writer fan perspective, what are your thoughts on the game of baseball today? Do you agree with all the changes going on, from the time clocks to the runner on base on second rule or extra innings?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, no doubt. And I definitely see both sides of it. I hear that the naturalists, the game naturalists that really want to keep intact the greatness of the game that has been for over 150 years. And I also get the fact that the numbers are saying that it's not as popular as it once was. It's kind of funny you brought this up. We were just on a Zoom call with me and some coworkers, and we were doing a little icebreaker. And the question was, which athlete do you remember first falling in love with? And the majority of my coworkers are NBA, NFL fans. At CBS Sports, we focus on NFL, college football, college basketball. So MLB is not really top priority for us. But most, I'd say even 90% of the answers that were told on that Zoom call, 90% of my coworkers all said a baseball name. And it was anyone from guys like Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds. Somebody even brought up Jose Fernandez, which is a more recent name. And it was interesting to me to see just how, I don't want to say that the game is dying necessarily, but to see the popularity of the game of baseball definitely decline in recent years. There's no doubt about that, according to the numbers. It's sad to see. With that said, I think the game's trending in a really good direction with all the young stars. So Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Julio Rodriguez in Seattle. I don't think, at least in my memory and time covering baseball, I don't think there's ever been a time where we've had this many young stars, young, exciting stars taking over the game at such a young age. So I think we could go rule by rule, extra innings rule, pitch clock rule, universal DH, shift. We could go rule by rule, but I think in a nutshell, I do think the game is in a better place than what the media likes to let on. With that said, I mean, ratings are going to dictate the story, but I do think the game is in a good place. I think it's just a matter of finding a way to market the game to the fans of today.
Of course, I agree with you so much. And, fast forward a little to, current standings, which team in the major leagues right now has been the most surprising to you all year?
Oh, surprising. That's a good one. I mean, obviously the most dominant team has without a doubt been the Pinstripes and the Bronx. I mean, they've just been on another level of just really dominating anybody that comes to the Bronx or even on the road as well. Most disappointing, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is definitely the Chicago White Sox, a team that was expected to not only win their division but also be World Series contenders. That has not been the case so far. So they've definitely been the most disappointing for me. In regards to the team that surprised me the most in a positive way has probably been San Diego. San Diego without Fernando Tatis Jr., I thought was really going to be trying to tread water until he came back onto the diamond. And they're 12 games over 500 right now on Tuesday, July 12th. They've slowed a bit, especially when Manny Machado got injured there for a little bit. But for them to be able to be in this position, in a playoff position, before Tatis has even seen the field, I think that's very impressive. And it's a testament to the roster makeup. The pitching rotation gives them a chance to win each and every time. The Padres, for them in that division too, considering San Francisco and Los Angeles won 107 and 106 games respectively last season. For them to be in playoff position right now is pretty impressive.
I certainly agree with you and all those things you said, and it's been fun watching all those teams. But it's funny that you mentioned the White Sox. I'm not sure if you, the game going on right now as we're recording this podcast, there's a White Sox game going on. I'm not sure you're aware, but Tony La Russa walked Jose Ramirez after throwing one pitch. So my thing is that where the White Sox are going right now? They have no type of they have no idea what's going on with them, with the team.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like this isn't the first time that we've questioned Tony La Russa's decision making this year. I think ever since he became the leader in South Side of Chicago last year, there was question. I mean, right immediately when he was hired, there was a report that came out that he had either a DUI or DWI, and the details of that was exposed, and he told the officer that, I'm paraphrasing here, but he told the officer, "Do you even know who I am? I'm a baseball Hall of Famer." So that relationship and really that the culture in Chicago kind of got off to a rocky start when Tony La Russa was initially hired. And I'd go as far to say that it really hasn't gotten a whole lot better, at least not this year. So Chicago is a tough place to be right now because the fans are calling for his job. They're not happy with ownership and their really non-desire to really spend a whole lot of money, at least maybe not to the fan standards, I should say. So yeah, definitely most disappointing team for me. Tony La Russa is definitely on the hot seat. That at least seems to be the idea that's been pushed out there in recent days. So he walked Trey Turner, I remember, with 2 strikes earlier this season. Now he's walking a batter with 1 strike. It would make sense if you just walked the hitter right away, but to throw a pitch and then after 1, 2, 3 pitches, then decide to intentionally walk a hitter, it definitely makes you scratch your head. That's for sure.
Yes, hopefully they figure it out. What do you think are some trades that the teams might make this year at the trade deadline?
There's going to be some big tickets there. Now, I want to say that last year you had your Chris Bryants, your Max Scherzers, your Trey Turners. This year you don't really have those types of superstars, at least not expected to be. With that said, guys like Frankie Montas, Luis Castillo, maybe Madison Bumgarner, you have some arms available that could definitely change some things. Trey Mancini with Baltimore, it kind of remains to be seen what Baltimore will do at the deadline, because they've all of a sudden found themselves vouching for a playoff spot, which has probably been one of the best stories of the year so far. So Baltimore could have some hitters available. Ruben Odor is another name that comes to mind. But in regards to superstars being traded midseason, probably not as many this year. But with that said, with the expanded postseason, I think you're going to see more teams involved. So maybe not as big of names, but I think you're going to see more volume in regards to deals being made, simply because you have an extra team getting into the postseason on each side.
And do you think this is the year that the Yankees and the Orioles definitely need to buy the trade deadline? And the reason I'm saying this is because the Baltimore Orioles in the past 6 years, they have not finished over 500 in the standings. 2016 was the last time they finished, when they finished 89 and 73. And the way they're playing right now, they're currently in an 8-game winning streak. Do you think this is the year that they should just go for it all and just go buy in at the trade deadline?
I would say no. Would I love to see the Orioles go for it and show their fans that they're here to win? Yes, but realistically speaking, I don't see that happening. Realistically speaking, they had the lowest payroll in Major League Baseball. You don't go into a season with the lowest payroll in Major League Baseball wanting to win a World Series. That's the facts. Now, they've all of a sudden found themselves in position with their top prospects coming up, like Adley Rutschman. Hopefully they can get Grayson Rodriguez to come up at some point this year. They have themselves in position to where they have a window opening for them. If not this year, then maybe next year. If not next year, then maybe the one after that. But that's great for them. You have some young studs. You have some guys that you can build around and really turn guys into face of the franchise type players. Is that in 2022? I would argue no. So I think at this point, if you're Baltimore, I don't think they're sellers right now, which is a good thing, because I think everybody expected them to completely sell off the team come the trade deadline. But if you're a fan, I think right now, you don't necessarily hope that they're buyers, but you hope that they just don't sell it. You hope that they kind of keep their team intact, see what this team is capable of right now, and who knows, maybe you sneak into the playoffs and make some noise. But I think right now, if you're a Baltimore Orioles fan, you're not hoping to be buyers, but I think you're hoping not to be sellers.
I agree. And lastly, if we could give our listeners a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, man. That cuts deep. I'll just say, there's a lot of really good people in this business, other businesses, but just don't be afraid to reach out to people. And, I think over the last few years with the pandemic going on, I think we've kind of lost touch with just the different social aspects of life. And so I really hope that we can get back to where we once were. And so I think a lot of people have become introverts of recent days, understandably so, but I think there's a lot of really good people out there, and there's a lot of bad news going on, but just always understand that the loudest voice in the room isn't normally the one getting the most headlines. So there's a lot of good people in this world. Let's not lose sight of that.
I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. But before I leave you, I want the listeners to know that you also have a podcast with former player Will Middlebrooks called Wake and Rake Podcast. Where can people find you?
Yeah, Wake and Rake Podcast with me and Brooksy. We just recorded a new episode today. A lot of baseball content, a lot of all-star game content. You can follow us on social media at Wake and Rake Pod. And then also you can listen to all of our latest episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much everywhere you get your listening shows from. You should be able to find us, the Wake and Rake Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.